The Boston Bruins have been killing it on their West Coast trip, while the Nashville Predators have been stumbling and are in danger of dropping out of a playoff spot. We'll talk about both those teams and more in Hottest and Coldest Teams. Hey everybody, it is time once again for 5 hottest and coldest teams in the NHL, where we'll be looking at the good and the bad going on in the league right now. Some teams playing really, really well, other teams really stumbling and falling down a little bit here over these past week or two. And we'll take a look at both sides of the coin here. So let's get started. I like to start with the positive. So we're going to look at the hot teams first. Hottest teams in the NHL. Coming in at number 5, we have the Boston Bruins. 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They've won their last one out after losing the game in Anaheim before that. But that Anaheim loss was their only loss on their West Coast swing. They've been playing great on the road. They've been picking up a lot of wins, doing a really good job of trying to climb into that top 3 in the Atlantic. And even if they don't get into the top 3 in the Atlantic, they've certainly secured themselves a wild card spot and definitely look like a team that's going to be going to the playoffs. At number 4, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are also 7-2-1 in their last 10 games and have won their last game out. Lightning have been one of the top teams in the league all season long. Obviously, defending champions, defending 2-time champions, winning the last 2 Stanley Cups. They are fighting at the top of the Atlantic Division, trying to get that first spot in the Atlantic, and they're right up there with Florida and Toronto fighting for that positioning. So, great season again for Tampa Bay. At number 3, we have the New York Rangers, who are also 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They've won 2 games in a row, however, and the Rangers' great season continues. This was a team that did not make the playoffs last year, but has really come into their own this season, getting Vezina-level goaltending, not just Vezina-level, gonna be Vezina-winning goaltending from Igor Shesterkin. And, they've got a lot of young players. They've got good veterans mixed in there. And this team overall has had a very, very good season. They're absolutely going to the playoffs this year. And solid play continues for New York. At number 2, we have the Dallas Stars, who are also 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. However, they have won 3 games in a row, and this has been a huge stretch for the Dallas Stars because unlike teams like Tampa Bay and New York, who are pretty well locked into playoff spots, Dallas is in a fight for their lives, looking to get into the playoffs this year, right on that borderline of being in or being out of a wild card spot in the West. And Dallas, with their recent string of play, with this 3-game winning streak and with winning 7 out of their last 10, Dallas has moved into a playoff spot in the Western Conference, at least as of right now. And again, there's a lot of teams fighting for those wild card spots in the West, but Dallas holds one of those 2 wild card spots right now. So this recent run for the Stars has been very, very important for them and their chances of getting into the playoffs. And finally, that brings us to number 1, the Calgary Flames. 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They did lose their last game out in overtime to the Montreal Canadiens, but still, they are the only team in the league with 8 wins in their last 10. That's the most wins in a 10-game stretch currently in the NHL right now. And the Flames continue to climb their way to the top of the Pacific Division, hold their position at the top of the Pacific. And they've been playing very, very strong here for the last few weeks. That's continued. And again, if you're winning 8 out of 10 games, that is very, very good. So they continue to hold their top spot here as the hottest team in the NHL. Switching over now to the other side, we've got to take a look at the coldest teams. And these are teams that things are not going very well for right now. And coming in at number 5, this is a bit of a surprise. We have the Nashville Predators, who overall have had a pretty good year this year, but are just 3-6-1 in their last 10 games. They've lost 2 in a row, And this stumbling has really hurt the Predators because they have fallen down into that big group of teams that are fighting for a playoff spot, a wild card spot in the West. And Nashville is really, really taking a bit of a dive. At one point, not that long ago, they were in second place in the Central Division. And now they're down into a wild card spot and have teams literally just 1 or 2 points behind them trying to take that playoff spot away. So Nashville's had a rough stretch here, and it has hurt them in the standings. They're going to need to get back on track pretty quickly if they're going to secure that playoff spot. Nashville's a team that really needs to start winning some games again. Coming in at number 4, we have the Ottawa Senators. Not much of a surprise here, but they are 3-6-1 in their last 10 games. They have lost 3 in a row. And Ottawa obviously still very, very much a rebuilding team. And their record this year shows it. I will give them some credit, though, because they have played very hard this year. They're a hard-working team. And they always seem to give a great effort and a really good game most nights. But that just hasn't really converted into a lot of wins yet this year. And it certainly hasn't been converting into wins recently. So there's still a ways to go for the Senators. But it's not a surprise. They're still a young rebuilding team right now. At number 3, we have the Seattle Kraken. 2-7-1 in their last 10 games. Now, they did win their last game out, but they're still just 2-7-1 in their last 10 games. Anytime you're only winning 2 out of 10 games, obviously that is not very good. That is not going to get you anywhere in the standings other than drop down towards the bottom of your division, and that's exactly what's happened with Seattle. Although they've been kind of one of those bottom teams all year in the Pacific. They're at the bottom of the Pacific now. And it's a struggle for them to win games. They're similar to Ottawa in a lot of ways in the fact that they play hard every night. And it seems like there's always a good effort level there for the Kraken. But they just don't have the talent level for that effort to convert into wins. And it certainly hasn't been converting into many wins. At number 2, we have the San Jose Sharks, the second to last place team in the Pacific Division, and they are just also with 2 wins in their past 10 games. They are 2-5-3 in their last 10. They lost their last game out, and it's not been a great year for the San Jose Sharks. Obviously, I didn't really have high expectations for them going into this year, so I'm not surprised by it. But this was a team that kind of hung around in wild card contention for the first half of the season, and now the second half of the year, they've really fallen off, and they're certainly not going to be a playoff team at this point. That leaves number 1, the Philadelphia Flyers, 2-6-2 in their last 10 games. They've lost 2 in a row in regulation. And the nightmare season for the Philadelphia Flyers continues. It's been a really, really rough year for them. And it doesn't look like that's going to be changing anytime soon. It is time to sell at the deadline if you are the Philadelphia Flyers. And they are the coldest team in the NHL right now. So there you have it. Hottest and coldest teams in the NHL, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back doing this again next week. We'll see what changes, who comes onto the lists, who comes off of the lists, all of that. But right now, those are your teams that are playing really good hockey, and then your teams that are struggling as well. So with that, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, our merchandise store, membership, and donation links are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.